we had a little bit of a odd situation. The NBC Sports Broadcasting was showing 2 laps to go in the race, so everyone was anticipating that Tom Bloomquist was going to have 2 laps to try to get around Nasser in the number 7 Porsche. However, when the number 7 Porsche came across the line, the checker flag waved with 23 hours, 58 minutes completed, and 24 seconds. The TV camera showed the Porsche Motorsports camp. They were confused over at Team Penske. They weren't reacting to the finish. They just seemed like, is it really over? A lot of the fans, I know a lot of the folks were just caught by surprise that the checker flag came out. But Philippe Nasser, he passed the start finish line. Checker flag came out. It was over. Ben, we've been hearing a lot on social media. How confused were you with the ending of this race? And do you think IMSA needs to put out an official statement explaining the circumstances?
Well, Joe, let me tell you something. I'm no mathematician or math expert or anything, but I'm pretty sure that 24 hours means 24 hours and 2 laps to go implies 2 more laps to go. And that's not what we got here today. Now, it probably wouldn't have mattered because I think the 7 was getting through the traffic much better than 31 was. So I think most of the classes, if not all of them, I think GTP, you can see there on the screen, the unofficial results. I think that was the only one that was even a little bit still in question. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong later on in the show, but the 7 was clearing the traffic very well. Probably wouldn't have made a difference, but the reality of the situation is if I were still a member of that 31 team, I wouldn't be too happy at this moment, given what we saw unfold there at the end, because you're right, Joe. The broadcast implied that there were 2 more circuits left, and we hadn't hit 24 hours on the clock, so I don't know how you can argue that the race was over, except for the fact that they threw a checkered flag, and that ultimately is the universal symbol that a race has come to its end. So it's an unfortunate situation because I think it really was a great race there that was, really up in the air and in question. It amazes me, nowadays what these teams can do and how close the competition is. After 24 whole hours, it still comes down to just a couple of seconds. And, you think back to the incredible battle we saw in the LMV2 class last year with, I think it was like 16 thousandths of a second. That battle last season. So, I mean, these races can come down to those margins and come down to the very last lap. I don't think it would have because the 7 was getting through traffic very well. But, it was a very confusing situation for everybody watching. And I think that it would go a long way for IMSA to put out a statement explaining why the decision was made to throw a checker when it was. Because, again, both lap-wise and time-wise, keeping track of the race, I don't know how you can argue that the race had come to an end in that moment.
Yeah, I was just so confused when the checker flag was waving. Knew we still had some time left. I have to agree with you. I think the finish of the race, unless, of course, this is part of racing, all the hypothetical what ifs. If 2 lap cars did make contact ahead of the leaders, that could have made it a little bit more dicey. But that's just all speculation. At the end, it was a really great race. I think the finish was a bit lackluster. Not exactly what we want to see.